A year ago, vibe coding was a meme, a throwaway tweet from a former OpenAI co-founder about letting AI write all your code while you just vibed. Today, that meme just made a solo founder $80 million. And a quarter of Y Combinator's latest batch? 95% AI-generated code. But that's only half of what's happening right now. Because the same week vibe coding celebrated its first birthday, the Pentagon threatened to cut ties with one of the biggest AI companies on the planet over its refusal to let its AI be used for mass surveillance and autonomous weapons. Let's get into it. On February 3, 2025, Andrej Karpathy, former OpenAI co-founder and ex-head of AI at Tesla, fired off what he'd later call a shower thoughts throwaway tweet. He wrote, "There's a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you fully give in to the vibes, embrace exponentials and forget that the code even exists." That tweet got 6.7 million views. And it didn't just name a trend, it ignited one. Fast forward exactly 1 year, and vibe coding isn't a curiosity anymore. It's a movement with receipts. Y Combinator's Winter 2025 batch tells the story best. According to YC managing partner Jared Friedman, 25% of the batch, roughly 40 companies out of 160, had code bases that were 95% or more AI generated. YC CEO Gary Tan confirmed it, writing on X, "That's not a typo. The age of vibe coding is here." And then there's Maher Shlomo, a 31-year-old Israeli developer who left his previous startup, a data analytics company called Explorium, served a year in the Israeli Army Reserves, and then decided to build the thing he'd always dreamed about, software that builds software. He launched Base 44 in early 2025 as essentially a side project, a platform where anyone could describe an app idea in plain English and have AI build the entire thing, complete with database, authentication, storage, and deployment. Everything changed when Anthropic released a new version of Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Shlomo switched from OpenAI's API to Anthropic's, and the apps his platform generated suddenly, in his words, came alive. Base 44 hit $1 million in annual recurring revenue in just 3 weeks. It attracted over 400,000 users. By May, it was profitable, pulling in $189,000 in profit even after heavy AI token costs. And in June 2025, just 6 months after launch, Wix acquired Base 44 for $80 million in cash. A solo founder, a bootstrapped company, an $80 million exit, built on vibes. This isn't just one founder's success story. This is a structural shift in how software gets built. Consider the numbers in context. The Collins English Dictionary named vibe coding its word of the year for 2025. Stack Overflow's developer survey found that 84% of developers either vibe code or plan to start. 41% of all code being written is now AI generated. The number of iOS apps released jumped 60% year over year, a surge directly attributed to vibe coding lowering the barrier to entry. And the economics are changing everything. Gary Tan says startups are now reaching $1 to $10 million in annual revenue with fewer than 10 employees. What once took 50 to 100 engineers, he says, can now be done by a team of 10 when they're fully vibe coding. But it's not all celebration. A CodeRabbit analysis of nearly 500 GitHub pull requests found AI co-authored code had 1.7 times more major issues and 2.7 times more security vulnerabilities than human-written code. Linus Torvalds called vibe coding fine for getting started, but a horrible idea for maintenance. There's a reason people are talking about the vibe coding hangover. Even Karpathy himself has moved on. On the 1-year anniversary of his original tweet, he proposed a new term, agentic engineering, emphasizing that the future isn't just vibing, it's orchestrating AI agents with expertise and oversight. The vibes got the movement started. The question now is whether the code they produce can actually hold up at scale. The big thing to watch is whether vibe-coded startups can survive past their first year. Base 44, now under Wix, is reportedly adding $12 million in ARR per month, suggesting the approach can scale. But as these companies grow to millions of users, the real test will be maintenance, security, and technical debt. 2026 may be the year that vibe coding either proves it can build lasting companies, or hits a wall. Now here's an interesting coincidence. The AI model that powered Base 44's explosive growth, the one that made those apps come alive, was Claude, built by Anthropic. And right now, Anthropic is at the center of a very different kind of story. One that has nothing to do with startups and everything to do with the most powerful military on Earth. This week, multiple reports confirmed that the Pentagon is threatening to sever its relationship with Anthropic, the San Francisco-based AI company behind Claude, one of the most advanced AI models in the world. The dispute centers on something fundamental: what the military is allowed to do with AI. The Pentagon is pushing the four leading AI labs, Anthropic, OpenAI, Google and xAI, to allow their models to be used for, quote, all lawful purposes. That includes weapons development, intelligence collection, and battlefield operations. 3 of those companies have reportedly agreed to lift their safety guardrails for unclassified military work. Anthropic has not. Specifically, Anthropic is drawing 2 hard lines. 1. Claude cannot be used for mass surveillance of American citizens. 2. Claude cannot be used to operate fully autonomous weapons, systems that can fire without a human being involved. On everything else, Anthropic says it's willing to negotiate. The tensions escalated dramatically after Claude was used, through Anthropic's partnership with Palantir, during the U.S. military operation to capture Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro in January. According to Axios, Claude wasn't just used in the planning phase. It processed real-time intelligence data during the active raid itself. After the operation, reports indicate that an Anthropic executive reached out to Palantir to ask whether Claude had been used, and the Pentagon interpreted this as the company questioning military operations. A senior administration official told Axios, "Any company that would jeopardize the operational success of our warfighters in the field is one we need to reevaluate." Anthropic flatly denied that characterization. The financial stakes are significant. Anthropic signed a contract valued at up to $200 million with the Pentagon last summer, and Claude is currently the only commercial AI model deployed on the military's classified networks. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has set a hard deadline of July 11, 2026, for all AI providers to sign on to the any lawful use terms. And the Pentagon is reportedly considering designating Anthropic, a supply chain risk, a label typically reserved for foreign adversaries, which would force every company that does business with the military to certify they don't use Claude in their workflows. This is not an abstract ethics debate. This is real money on the table, and real consequences on the line. Anthropic has built its entire brand on AI safety. Founded by former OpenAI researchers, Dario and Daniela Amode, the company has positioned itself as the responsible counterweight in the AI race, the lab that would actually say no when the pressure got intense. Well, the pressure is now as intense as it gets. $200 million, access to the entire federal ecosystem, and the implicit threat that if you don't comply, you get labeled a national security risk. What makes this so significant is the precedent it sets. If Anthropic holds firm and the Pentagon follows through, it sends a message to every AI company. There is a cost to having principles. If Anthropic caves, it sends the opposite message. Safety commitments are marketing copy that dissolves when the check is big enough. The competitive dynamics matter too. A senior administration official admitted that competing models are just behind when it comes to classified government applications. The Pentagon needs Claude, possibly more than Anthropic needs the Pentagon, given the company's $14 billion in annual revenue and $380 billion valuation. That power dynamic makes Anthropic's stand unusual. Most companies in this position would quietly comply. Anthropic is, at least for now, choosing the harder path. The critical date is July 11, 2026. That's Secretary Hegseth's deadline for all AI providers to accept the any lawful use terms. Between now and then, watch for whether Anthropic finds a compromise that preserves its red lines while satisfying the Pentagon, or whether this standoff becomes the defining rupture between Silicon Valley and Washington. And watch the other labs closely. What OpenAI, Google, and xAI do next will tell you everything about where the industry really stands on AI safety. In the span of 1 year, AI went from writing throwaway apps to powering $80 million exits and processing battlefield intelligence in real time. The speed is staggering. And the question everyone, founders, engineers, policymakers, all of us, needs to sit with is this: are we building the guardrails as fast as we're building the capabilities? If you want to stay on top of stories like these, subscribe. We cover AI and tech news daily. See you in the next one.